Hi gorgeous, and welcome back to my channel. I'm Tiffany, and if you're new here on my channel, we talk about all things beauty. And today, as you can see by the thumbnail, we are going to be doing a step-by-step how to dip powder mani for beginners. As you can see, I pretty much have all of my fingers done except for a couple that I've left that we're going to do together. So first, we're going to go over everything that you need to do a dip mani. This may seem overwhelming because there is a lot of products, but I've been doing this since 2017, so don't worry. You don't have to have every single thing, but I am going to recommend to you what I use. So the must-haves are going to be a dip base. You're going to have this. It can be any brand. You can mix and match between brands. You're going to need an activator. This is what hardens the nails. You're going to need a top coat, and that's what makes them shiny. You're going to need some kind of tool, whether it be a Q-tip, whether it be a toothpick, or they call this, a dipping tool. A lot of the brands have it. You're going to be going around the cuticles. You're going to need a stiff brush. I do not recommend a fluffy brush like this one because it's not going to get all your excess powder off. And I like to have an even stiffer brush when we get to the clear powder application that I have. You're going to need your dip powder, your color of choice. And when you're a beginner, this is going to be pretty important. So today I chose a solid color, but it's an easy to work with. And it's also fun because you can kind of tell already the tips, they change colors. This is from Revel Nail. It is one of their mood changing powders in the color Sculptor. I will link this below if you're interested in this color. And then you're going to need a clear dip powder. I have a huge jar from Double Dipped. This is my favorite clear here. You do not need a jar this big. Just get you a small one like this to begin with. You're going to need a couple different files. So I like to have a 180 240 file. You can get these off Amazon. I'll also link them if I can find it. They come in and out of stock with all the different brands. So as long as it's 180 240, and then I also like to have a 100 180 file and a couple different buffing blocks. Another thing that I like to use is this tool that goes around the cuticles. So this is really going to help us get that smooth shape that we desire. Some optional items are, this is also for your cuticles. It can help get out this extra gunk. And I use this when I get ready to wash my hands, which is why I have not top coated these yet. I wash all of my hands at once. I go over them with some soap, a scrubby brush, and this to get out any extra gunk before I top coat. Another optional thing is a drill. This is my triple D drill. If they're selling them at the moment, they're out of stock, in and out of stock all the time. I'll link it below, but you can just get you an Amazon one to begin with. I don't use the drill a lot. I will show you at what point that I do use it in case you want to see how I do, but I mostly use my two files and my buffing blocks. Okay, so let's get started. The other things that you'll need are a paper towel. You can see I've already been wiping on this one. And a cupcake liner. I'm going to show you a few different ways that you can choose to dip. And depending on your preference will be how you decide to do it. Also depends on if it's a glitter or a foil or a dip like that as to how you're going to choose to dip. But for our purposes, we're going to want to make sure. I'm going to get a lint-free cloth as well. I can link these from Amazon below. They look like, in the box, they look like this. This is what the lint-free wipes look like. So we're going to want to make sure that our nails are clean and dry. I've got some alcohol in this little sprayer here. Used to be, I think, some kind of perfume from Victoria's Secret, but we're going to make sure those nails are clean and dry. I've been filing on the other one, so I want to make sure there's no residue left on this one. If these two nails look different to you, it's because this one is broken and I had to put a tip on it before we started. So, first thing you want to do is you want to get your dip base. You want to get that out, get it ready. And they do make little holders like this if you find that that makes it easier so that it doesn't spill. You can get these from all sorts of stores online. I know Etsy sells them. I got this one from Chaos Concepts. Can link them down below if they're still in business. And then your dip powder. So the first way that I'm going to show you is just to dip your finger in. Wipe the brush off as it comes out so you don't have any excess liquid. And you're going to want to start here in the middle of the nail. The reason I say to start in the middle is so that that's where most of your liquid goes and you fan your brush out at the bottom. If you start at the base of your nail, then you are going to get the most liquid there. And then you just dip your finger in at a 45-degree angle and tap off. Now before that dries, you're going to want to go in with your cuticle tool and clean up any edges. I'll use this jar. We'll see if that is helpful for us to dip on so you can see. Okay, we'll do that second nail the same way. Start in the middle. And then fan out at the base. Don't worry on this first layer. If you don't get every single spot, that's fine, because we're going to do 4 layers of color here. Going to dip in at a 45-degree angle and tap off. Get your cuticle tool and go around the base. Can wipe that off on this. Okay, now that we've got both nails dipped, I'm going to make sure it's dry enough. It is. I'm going to go in with a stiff brush to brush off the excess. If you don't wait long enough and your liquid is still wet, it will gunk up this brush and make a big mess. So another way that I'm going to show you is called the pour over method. This is what I recommend for beginners. So again, we're going to paint our liquid on the same way. Go up to the cuticle. And it's a good idea if you're new as well to actually just wipe your brush off really good in between every dip to make sure that you don't have any powder. And I'm going to go in here and pour over the dip powder from the jar. Okay. Go around the cuticles. We're going to do the same thing with our next nail. Start in the middle. Make sure that I'm getting all the way to the side walls here. And you want to make sure that your application is thin and smooth with your base liquids, because that is what is really going to matter as far as how much filing that you have to do. Okay, we're going to pour over again. Just like that, tap off. And then we will go around with our cuticle tool. I apologize if this looks kind of awkward because this is my left hand. I already messed up the video on my right, wouldn't you know, so I had to go in and show you guys on my left. Okay, I'm going to brush off. We'll leave that one for a second, it might still be wet. Another way I want to show you is you can lay your finger in the powder. So we've got our cupcake liner, we have enough powder to cover the bottom, and we have our liquid here. Going to paint our smooth, even coat. Make sure I get all those little nooks and crannies there at the side wall. I saw where I missed some the previous times. Okay. And then we're simply going to lay it in the powder. You're going to pick up your finger, tap off, go around your cuticle again. You're going to be going around your cuticle every single time. Okay. Now we can definitely brush that other finger off. It's going to be dry. Okay. Go in, put our liquid on, make sure that we get all of our little sidewalls, everything covered. See a little spot there on the side I didn't get. Okay. We're going to lay it in the powder. Just going to lay your finger flat. Tap off. Now the main reason why I suggest that you do the pour over method as a beginner, or laying flat's good too, I just don't like dipping in the jar, is because when you have liquids, if you don't dip at the right angle, when you put it in, that powder can bunch up on your nail and cause some rippling, which will cause you to have to do extra filing. So I'm going to go in one more time. This is our 4th coat of our main color. I'm going to go in. Make sure everything's covered because this is the last opportunity that we have with this color. All the way up to that cuticle. And then I'll go ahead and pour over this one last time so y'all can see my preferred method again. For beginners at least. I never dip into the jar. I either lay flat or I pour over now. With glitters and other foil dips, I will lay flat a lot. Or if it's not a very good coverage powder. All powders are not created equal. That is something that you will come to know if you do your nails often. Like I said, I've been doing this since 2017, so, you know, there is a learning curve, but if you're willing to stick with it, then it's totally worth it. It's a super fun hobby and it'll save you a lot of money. It does have to be, however, something that you enjoy. It's probably going to take you an hour or so from start to finish to do your mani. It's not going to be, you know, a quick and easy process to begin with. It becomes definitely quicker and easier as you go along, but my biggest tip or piece of advice would be to watch as many videos as possible before you begin. Don't just get on here and watch mine or one other person. I am going to link one of my favorite YouTubers, Marla Chris, and she even has a Facebook, so that you can see her channel as well. I'm going to link her, but you want to make sure you really understand the process and what you're doing before you begin. I find that that is very helpful. So this was our last coat in our main color. Just go ahead and brush off. And look how smooth that is, and we haven't even done any filing yet. So we do need to go in with a clear coat. You always need a cap and clear because when you do filing, you're going to be taking off layers of color. So I recommend for every mani, and I still do this to this day, I recommend capping and clear. So we're going to go in and I'm going to paint that, and then we're going to dip in clear. Okay, now we need to dip the second finger in clear. Okay, now we need to dip the second finger in clear. Make Make sure you get a pretty generous coat so that we get enough clear. And I will just dip it in the clear. I usually don't pour over. This is one time. I said never earlier, but I guess this is one time with my clear that I dip in. If you're using a glitter or anything else, you are going to want to have a separate clear. If you don't, you're going to contaminate it. Just word of warning. Get you another little jar like this and pour some clear over into it so you don't ruin your big jar of clear. Now is when we need to wait a couple minutes and we're going to dust off our clear with a very dense brush, but we need to make sure that it's dry. Okay, so that one is dry enough. We're going to go in and we're going to dust off. That one is too. Just depends on the temperature in your home and everything like that, and your liquids as to how fast it's going to dry. Make sure if you don't get like all this extra clear off, then it will cause little specks. And then we need to go in with our solidify. Solidify is what hardens the dip powder. So I always do 2 coats. So we're going to do coat there. I'm going to turn it over. I'm going to do a coat on the underside. And then I'm going to do 1 coat on each nail. And we're going to need to give this 1 to 2 minutes in order to harden the nails before we start filing. If you start filing too soon, then the dip powder is going to come off. And you can kind of tap them. You can tell when they're done. Probably go ahead and go in and clean up the sides. That's what I'll start with in case some of it's not quite hardened yet. I'm going to want to take my file here and I'm going to want to file it at an angle. I like to do a tapered square almost into a coffin. So first thing I do is give them a little shape. Make sure, okay, that's good for the first pass. I'm going to file the edges. File it smooth here, just how you want it, any shape you want to do. Okay, that's what I do first. Now, okay, I can tell that it's hard and it's ready to go. So I'm going to get my drill. I like to leave mine on the stand when I use it, and I apologize for how clumsy I'm going to be because I'm going to be filing with my left hand, but turn it on. I'm only going to put this on, say, a level 6 or so. And I have to put it in reverse because I'm filing my left hand, and then I'm going to go around the cuticle. That's what I like to use my drill for, just so I get that a little bit smoother. So then we are going to get our 180-240 file. And you want to make sure this is seasoned before you go in around your cuticles. And what I mean by that is, I mean, you take another file and make sure that's soft. So I will go around my cuticles to make sure that I've got any excess powder off. And then I'm going to show you, I'm just going to start filing. I'm going to smooth it out at the base. Okay, so that's looking pretty good. I like the shape that that's taken. We'll fix it up just a little bit. I want to show you this optional tool. So this kind of helps. This thing is not sharp and it will not cut you. You can go around. This fits perfectly around your cuticles. So it can go around, get that excess dip powder, really get in there and get that. So this is what I use sometimes. but I just wanted to show you that you can do it without that tool. I think it's like $10 on Amazon if you don't want to buy it, because the rest of the stuff you can just go and get these files at Sally's if you want and buy one at a time. On Amazon you usually have to buy a whole pack of them, which is a better deal, but maybe you're just testing this out to see if doing nails is going to be your thing or not, and you don't want to invest a whole lot of money. Okay, now we are at our next step. So I'm just going to use the buffing block, go over them, smooth those out, get my file, which I'm going to use this 100-180, make sure the shape is fine-tuned like I like it. Just one last time here. Okay, shape looks pretty good to me. And then I'm going to go in with this smooth buffer, buff it all out. Now we're ready to go wash our hands. Alright, I'm back and we are ready to do our top coat. So we're going to put our activator on 5 nails at a time. We're going to let that dry for 1 to 2 minutes. You need to read the instructions for your specific liquids to know exactly how long to leave it. And it's very important, if you do not let it dry long enough, then when you go in with your top coat, it's going to gunk up your brush and your brush will get hard because it's making, remember this made our dip powder hard earlier, but it's also what makes our top coat shiny. If you're going to do a gel top or anything like that, you will not go in with activator. You'll just go straight in with your gel base and your gel top. Okay, going to get a lint-free wipe again. I'm going to wipe over the nails to make sure that all of that excess activator is off. Okay, now we're going to get our top coat. Ready for your second coat, you'll know it because the first one will kind of start to crinkle. So we're just about ready for that second coat here. Okay, ready? And this coat, you can be as thorough as you want. If you want longevity, go ahead and cap your tips. That's all where I got. I actually prefer so that tip doesn't get too much on there to kind of go in and put some on there and then go back in and smooth it out. My second coat, I find if I try to brush it on and then cap the tip, that sometimes there will be a little excess product on the tip. Okay, there we go. I'm gonna go off camera and do the other hand, and then I'll come back and we'll do some cuticle oil. Okay, I'm back. The nails are dry. We're gonna go in. We're gonna cleanse them one last time. This is especially important if you're using gel to make sure that you got all of that gel out. I would actually go ahead and wash your hands as well, but I just want to make sure that we got any extra junk off. And we're going to go in with our cuticle oil. This is one of my favorites from Northern Lights Skincare. I'll link them down below. Massage that all in. Yeah, that's our finished mani. Thank you for being here with me today. I hope you learned something. If you like this video, please comment down below. I hope to see you next time. Bye.